We're back today talking about original title. We've mentioned it a couple of times, but let's talk about it. Title is basically for land indicating that you own it, some sort of ownership stake. Original title, at least in the United States, probably will matter in the United Kingdom because it matters, is done by conquest or discovery. Original title comes into play because of the British Crown. The British Crown, the United States, before the United States was formed, came over and they will say that they discovered or conquest parts of what we now call the United States. This was monarchy that did it. They came and they then claimed original title. Original title still applies. The British Crown still has original title over, at the very least, the original colonies. When the United States separated itself from the British Crown, they're going to say that they claimed some ability to do things inland, the United States government, and then the states by proxy, coming from that title. Here's the problem. The British Crown still holds the original title. Now, title can mean, hey, we have ownership, but it doesn't matter if you cannot enforce it, right? Title is enforced through law or some other means. The British Crown, which names several things here in the United States. Let's look at the place I am at right now, South Carolina, which was originally part of the Carolina Territory from the King. This is again before the United States existed. All right, that was a land grant from the King, whichever king that was. It is named after a member of the royal family, Caroline. That is where you get Carolina from. The Commonwealth of Virginia is named after someone royal. Mary Land is named after Mary Land, the land of Mary, so on and so forth. The names of the colonies which became states bear direct names from the royal family. If you have ever been to Charlotte, North Carolina, Charlotte is named after Queen Charlotte, the queen of King, I think it's George III. There's a lot of them. That King George, 1776 American Revolution King George. She was his queen, right? So that city that you go to in North Carolina, part of the land grant from a king, bears the name of a queen. They even call it the Queen City. Charlotte, North Carolina is in a county called Mecklenburg. It is in Mecklenburg County. Mecklenburg is Charlotte's, I guess for lack of a better term, maiden name. So even today in 2026, if you go to North Carolina and you are in Mecklenburg County in the city of Charlotte, those are named after members of the British royal family. Here is the thing. They have tried to enforce it. That's called the American Revolution, when King George sent redcoats to come over here and kill people. Several different massacres, wars, all the rest of that. We declared independence in 1776, but if you will note, that war kept going. It didn't just stop. When they wrote the Declaration of Independence and said we separate ourselves from the British Crown, it's like, yep, you're United States now. I mean, you are on paper, and you have that Constitution thing, which actually didn't get ratified till later, right? But it's not like King George was like, oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, just go ahead and be your own. No, he kept sending troops to bring us back in line. It was not, in fact, not until, I believe, 1782 when the American Revolutionary War actually stopped and the British Crown pretended to surrender with one of their generals, and that stopped the hostilities at that time. It was then after that that the Constitution got ratified, so on and so forth. So the British Crown did try and enforce original title, first time American Revolutionary War. So after 1782, we're fully a country. The Constitution comes into play. A generation later, there's this thing called the War of 1812. Perhaps you've heard of it, perhaps you haven't. This is when the British Crown came back a generation later and was like, obey, conform, comply, and tried to enforce original title again because they were assaulting U.S. citizens on U.S. soil. And sometimes not on U.S. soil. Sometimes out on the waters, on the oceans. Privateers would then take things and people proclaiming that they're British subjects. So the United States will not have that. That's where the War of 1812 got started, right? The Star-Spangled Banner, the national anthem, is actually because of the War of 1812, not because of the American Revolutionary War. The bombs bursting in air, the flag still stood. Those were British bombs sent by the British Crown. The flag that stood then is the flag of the United States, because the British Crown came back and tried to enforce that again later. They just have not been able to enforce it. If it was not for the American Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, that American rugged individualism that people now try to talk about negatively, you would have to know how to curtsy, and you'd have to know the difference between your grace, your majesty, and your highness. Know what I mean? Prince Harry would not just live in California, he'd own California. Because the British Crown would have said everything that you got through the United States is now owned by us. Right? So it's still there, it still exists. It's just King Charles III is not enforcing it directly. Perhaps indirectly. Although members of the royal family did come to U.S. soil and assault U.S. citizens. Why aren't we starting another war with them now? So, there you have it. Original title.